Developed, created, and owned by James PoeArtistry Productions.
You are now listening to the Perceptive Readers Podcast.
An epiphany made in silence. Hi, I'm James Lynch, and welcome to this PocbooksCrypto update moment. An epiphany is normally like a bright salt that some of us will remember from years ago, even reading the comics, where you see a person and they get a real good idea, a bright idea that brings the light bulb above their head. That is a nice way to always remember it. But with that thought, though, it really is something that will help the person, and they will retain it most likely for a long time, if not for the next 2,000 or so years as well, because it was well received and it really is a good thought. It's not just for inventions, you see. Well, with that, I want to share with you this account between two professionals. I won't say anything at the end because why? You will have to have an epiphany in order to get the point. All right. Now, there were two professionals. One had quite a bit of experience and was up in the middle age range. He had another colleague, professional, if you will, in the same field, and they were having a conversation. This conversation of maybe the colleague that was, still maybe 10 years or so younger, was actually talking about someone else, that was showing, interest in what they do, as professionals and in the field that they were in. Now, in this field, you have to be pretty quick-witted at times, to make decisions that even people would border on the line of saying, oh, okay, where does the ethics play in on this or the ethics play in on that? All right. This man who has quite a bit of experience or up in years, you see, he made different decisions that, according to what he knew, it caused many of the situations to work out because of the way he applied, you see, the end result. He applied the technique or the methods for it to work out, the majority of the time. Okay. Now, what ended up happening is he also shared, about a quarter of some of these techniques with his younger colleague, and they worked out as well. So here it is, the younger colleague, still at least bright-eyed, or green in certain areas, because I know people use their green to be maybe inexperienced in a certain area, have found a similar person, you see, who showed a talent, showed maybe, some interest that, yes, this person could be the professional and actually become lucrative as well. Okay. Now, with all of that in mind, the conversation between these two professionals were over this one newer person that was coming about. And this conversation lasted over the course of a day or so, on and off, when they would have breakfast together, lunch together, dinner together, at times, depending on how late they were working. And so after about the second day, the older experienced professional really just told him, because this younger, he's not inexperienced, but this younger person who is really, looking like, hey, he can do it, this person can do it, was having a difficult time, you see, training this individual in the area of their, profession. And so it got to the point where the older person with their experience was saying, just leave it alone for now. Just leave it alone. Okay. And yet, his younger colleague wanted to keep pushing it. And that's why they, would end up talking about it over breakfast, lunch, and even dinner if they were working late. So guess what? After the experienced person had reasoned with his colleague who knew him very well, you see, for a course of a couple of days, finally, and this was around about lunchtime, because this is the make or break part of the day on whether they know they're going to be working late or not. And it looked like the situation was going to be that they were going to work late again. All right. And so it was almost like it didn't even have to be said. They just knew it. Well, the experienced person, because the conversation came up again about this other individual who he wanted to bring on board. The experienced person said, you have to leave it alone and let him come to the conclusion on his own. And the person was asking why. And so the experienced person said, because in situations like this, you can talk and you can talk till you're blue in the face. If the person doesn't see it for themselves, you have to leave it alone. And so you just have to drop it, and then you have to leave the person. And then the experienced person immediately said, waiter, I got this covered. And he put down his money and he told his colleague, have a good day. And he walked off. This was a PocbooksCrypto update moment. You have a wonderful, wonderful day.